Hi everyone, and welcome to today's WordStream webinar, 5 Insights from Analyzing $500 million in Ad Spend, featuring the one and only Larry Kim, our founder. My name's Callie, and I'm just here to get things started. Before I pass it over to Larry, I just want to get some of the logistics out of the way so we can get straight to the fun. So first of all, for those of you who are not familiar with WordStream, we are a search marketing software provider with free and paid tools to help you easily grow your AdWords, Bing, and Facebook campaigns. So if you're looking to master paid search, definitely check out our PPC University at wordstream.com/learn. And in there you'll learn, everything that's going on in the industry, paid search related, paid social related, and have access to a ton of our free tools. Now next up, some of the logistics to kind of fly through. A recorded version of this webinar will be distributed later this afternoon via email directly from Larry himself, so definitely keep an eye out for that. We also encourage you to join in on the conversation on Twitter by following @WordStream and @LarryKim. You'll be thoroughly entertained and fully up to date with everything going on. And then finally, do not be shy. We are here to help you, and we will definitely have a few minutes at the end for Q&A. So don't be shy and be sure to submit them throughout the presentation. Now, I have the great honor of introducing Larry Kim, our founder and CTO here at WordStream. He is a complete expert. He's been doing PPC and SEO for over 10 years. He's been cited in over 10,000 publications. He regularly speaks at industry events. He's actually been on a plane for the majority of the week, and I don't think he has had a wink of sleep since Monday. So Larry, we thank you for joining us today. And also he's definitely a frequent contributor to our WordStream blog, so check that out to keep up with Larry as well. And with that, I will pass it over to the legend Larry Kim.
Hey guys, hey, thanks Callie, thanks everyone for coming out today. Looks like we got a good crowd here, so that's exciting. So basically, here's the scoop. WordStream has this tens of thousands of customers and even more, just free users of our software, and so as a result, we have a tremendous amount of data, like actually billions of dollars of search marketing data that we can analyze, and basically, from time to time, I just book a day and just go look through the data to try to find, discern kind of what's changing in the AdWords ecosystem in terms of big changes, because Google, silly Google, they don't always tell us what's going on. So sometimes you gotta do some digging, and so I just think it's really neat because when you have even just $500 million of data to play around with for just in the last few months, that's a pretty good size. You're talking like 1% of total ad revenues in the world for Google, and so you can extrapolate a lot of interesting things. So basically, that's what I did. I spent the day just in the database and looking at stuff, and I wanted to just summarize some of the 5 interesting trends that I found, as well what marketers should do to adopt to these trends. All right, and so as you can see from your screen here, the first trend that I discovered was that quality score, that magical algorithm that runs the Google AdWords platform, decides how much you pay and where your ads get placed. That algorithm is actually more important than ever. So what I mean by this is that the average impression-weighted quality scores, as you can see by this histogram here, they're higher than ever. So the average quality score in terms of the ads that are being shown is actually a 6.5 out of 10. Okay, so it's not that there aren't any quality score, low quality score keywords out there like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just that they're very, very unlikely to actually be shown by AdWords. It's like they're just not actually showing up to they're not being impressed to users like when they do their searches, and so it's almost as though those ads don't even exist. So I can tell you exactly what's happening here. So basically, it has to do with this concept of impression share. And so impression share, that's kind of like whether or not Google shows your ads or not. And so a lot of the calculation has to do with ad rank, which is both related to your bids, like how much you're willing to pay, and also your relevancy, your quality score, like how awesome are your ads or how crappy are they. And so last year, when we did across the board, of course, as you might expect, the higher the quality of the ad, the more likely your ad was to show up in front of a user, because Google doesn't always want to show garbage. They only want to show the best ads that are interesting. And basically, the relationship that we kind of reverse engineered was that for every increase or decrease of one point in quality score for your ads and keywords, you would typically see a corresponding increase or decrease of 9% for ad impression share, meaning Google likes to show the ads it thinks are great and doesn't like to show the ads that are not that great. And so when we ran, so that was over a year ago. And since then, there's been a lot of changes, and basically three of the big changes are, firstly, obviously there's fewer mobile, there's fewer ads on mobile, and so when someone does a search on mobile, Google has to be a little bit more picky in terms of determining which ads get to show on mobile, because there's only maybe 2 or 3 ad spots. Of course, as you know, in February, Google deleted ad spots 8, 9, 10, 11. So again, increasing pressure on the limited amount of ad inventory available. And so the third thing I would want to point out here is that the share of PPC traffic in terms of the desktop share, which actually has substantially still, even when we lost positions 7, 8, or 8, 9, 10, 11, it still has much more ad space than the mobile experience does. But that share of desktop has gone down by approximately 10% in the last 12 months, as you can see here. This is all WordStream data, not official Google data. This is our own stuff that we originate. And so when you consider all those factors, the increasing mobile, the loss of those side ads on desktop, basically what's happening is the impression share calculation, the slopes of these lines are now twice as competitive, so to the point where every 1 point increase or decrease in quality score can actually result in an 18% increase or decrease in ad impression share. And so I would argue that this is very important, because, what is the point of doing advertising if your ads are not going to be shown in the first place? I would think that feels like an exercise in futility. I think if you're creating these ads, you're hoping for them to be shown, and so if you want them to be shown, the goal here is to kind of blow away the quality score to make sure that they're impressed to customers and prospects every time an eligible keyword is searched upon. And so obviously another reason why this is important is that quality score dramatically impacts the cost per click that you pay. Obviously there's these discounts of up to 50% and penalties of up to 400%, depending on the quality scores of your keywords. It's not just in search. Obviously, it's important in search ads. But Google, they have a lot of other different ad products. So, for example, Gmail ads is one of them. Here we see there's a quality score where the cost per click varies dramatically based on the open rate of the emails. And also the Google Display Network, another popular venue where we see there's a huge relationship between click-through rates and cost per clicks. None of this data is actually made public in the AdWords interface, so that's why we have to kind of pull this out of our own data. But basically, what I think, if I summarize this, is it makes a big deal, these changes, because if we summarize, low quality score keywords are just not likely to ever get shown to users in the first place, and secondly, it just means that you need to get your click-through rates up, which that has to do with the quality score calculation, and click-through rate is, of course, the highest, biggest component of quality score. All right. So that was my first observation, that this notion that quality scores are going up to around 6.5 on average. When I last looked at it a few years ago, it was closer to 5. So it's up quite a bit. Observation number 2, I want to talk a little bit about those click-through rates. It's kind of related because, as you know, quality scores and click-through rates are very, very closely related. And so The question was, what's a good click-through rate in 2016, given some of the changes in mobile and the search page layout changes that we've seen recently? And the answer is that the click-through rates are higher than ever this year. All right, so this is kind of the histogram or the distribution of click-through rates. Obviously, there's lots of different possible click-through rates here, variants, but the 50th percentile of account average click-through rates is 3.23%, and that's up quite a bit. Last time I looked at it, it was closer to like 2.4%. And so what the heck is going on? Why has the median click-through rate increased so substantially? And I think there's a couple of reasons. So firstly, as we were talking about earlier, the AdWords is getting more and more picky. They are less and less likely to run crap ads with low click-through rates and low quality scores in the first place, thereby raising the average the average click-through rates of the ads that do get shown to people. The other thing that, of course, we know is that they've introduced these new prominent ad positions above the fold, like 4 ads above the fold, and also the ads are identical to organic listings. They've been made to be much bigger and much more native looking, so they kind of blend in and you can barely tell the difference. And so these two factors combined, we believe, are dramatically increasing click-through rates across the board. So I didn't want this to be a completely theoretical discussion about kind of trends. I wanted to also provide some tips and strategies on what to do about these trends. So let's take action here and think about these two trends, about the rising click-through rates and quality scores, and what we should be thinking about to do in our accounts. And so basically, the key to success absolutely has got to be these expanded text ads from Google, which are really quite a gift from Google. Like if you think about like the fact that these old regular text ads have been around for 15 years and haven't changed at all. They've been so stingy with just 25 character headlines and 30 character descriptions, and suddenly Santa Google is here and they've given us not 1 but 2 headlines. They're bigger, they're 30 characters each, and then an 80 character description. Wow, that's quite an upgrade. And so basically, my idea here is that this is a terrible expanded text ad strategy. So if you're just going to take the same ads that you had before and kind of increase the margins and the padding around it by adding just filler copy, if you will, I think that's a terrible idea. Really. Because you've been granted this great gift from Google, we really need to make the most of it. What we should be doing instead is being like an artist, completely reimagining what we could create out of the canvas that we've been given here. And so instead of just kind of increasing the padding around our existing ads, we should really reimagine and rethink these from scratch. And so the result could be substantially more beautiful and compelling. So typically, when we look at our advertiser base who are making the migration from these older, regular ads to the expanded text ads, 80% of them are seeing gains. About 20% of them are shooting themselves in the foot and are actually seeing small reductions in click-through rates. But by and large, the vast majority are making improvements because of there's so much more room to be more creative. And even 20% of our customers are seeing massive gains of 100 to 130% gains. And I think that's really the key here. So I wanted to give you a couple ideas on what we should be doing to reimagine these ads. All right, and so my crazy idea here is to kill off obvious call to actions from your headlines and move them into kind of less prominent positions. And I know this is kind of crazy because the calls to action obviously are kind of like the holy grail of pay-per-click advertising. Everyone says you need a call to action. Well, I'm actually saying the opposite. That you don't really need these things anymore. You see, when AdWords is like 15, 16 years old now, okay, and so back in the day when it came out, it was like those blue links, like not everyone knew what this was all about, and that you could click on these links and you could get more information and learn more about the product. So it was like at the time people were saying like you really need to include these call to actions in your ads. And another thing that was happening was that the ads were so small that you didn't have enough room to actually, say something meaningful about your products. And so it was always just like, just learn more or try it now or buy it. Like, really? I had no idea that you click on this thing and learn more, or that you could buy this product online. Like, give me a break. Duh. Like, this is 2016 now. I think we're like, the people using the internet are not as stupid as they were 15 years ago. And so my idea here is maybe now that we have all this room, let's clear the decks completely, make even more space by decluttering some of the junk elements that we had on the ads, such as these obvious calls to actions, and then maybe if you really need them, like sometimes these are kind of a crutch, but you can move these calls to actions out of the headline, which are so valuable, which was where you should be focusing on your differentiators, your guarantees, your unique selling proposition, that kind of stuff, and moving these kind of learn more type of things outside of there and into these site links. Which, by the way, just to prove my point here, they never get clicked on. The click-through rates on these things are like 0.1% or 0.2%. It's very low. But we need to clear the decks. Another way we can clear the decks for our ads to free up even more space so that we have more room to be creative is to blow up your dynamic keyword insertion ads. So again, I know what you're thinking. You're like, what? First he said kill off the calls to action. Now he's saying kill off the dynamic keyword insertion. Both of these have been kind of holy grails. But again, I think it was kind of a crutch. The problem was that we had such like a straitjacket. It was like so much constraints on the ad copy that we had to rely on these dumb constructs because there was nothing else that we could do in so little space. And so, guys, when I look at the ads across the AdWords ecosystem, the one thing I need you to understand is there's huge variance in click-through rates between what I call the best ads, the unicorn ads, the top 10% of ads, which are so sparkly and magical, and the donkey ads, which are the worst ads, which nobody clicks on, the bottom 10%. Those do 3 times worse than average, whereas the unicorn ads do 2 times better than average. And if you can turn a donkey into a unicorn, wow, you're talking like a 6 times increase in click-through rates. That's quite a lift, and that'll make a huge impact on your cost per clicks and your quality scores and all this stuff that we were talking about before. And so the worst thing that you could be doing in a post tiny ad era is to just squander the space on dynamic keyword insertion. If you ask me, these are all donkeys. See, I just did a search here for big data solutions, and notice how all 3 ads are kind of parroting back the same word, and none of these ads are differentiated at all in their headlines, which is the most important piece of real estate in your ads. I call this an AdWords jackpot, when you get kind of 3 ads that look the same, where there's kind of no differentiation. And the reason why I call this a jackpot is because it's like you hit a row of 3 unicorns or something, and it's also a great opportunity for you to differentiate your product from everyone else. And so another piece of data here is that when we look at sort of all of the ads, what are the top 10% or top 15% or average click-through rates. Basically, the ads that use these dynamic keyword insertion tricks, those are what I call upper class donkeys. So they're not quite unicorns, but they're definitely, they're just they're good, not great. You know what I mean? And so let's who in the world aspires to be good, not great? I think we want our ads to be great. And so when we look at the great ads, sort of the top 5% or top 1%, basically, these ads do not leverage dynamic keyword insertion. Instead, they leverage other factors such as unique selling propositions, guarantees, that type of thing. competitive differentiators. Basically, what we're talking about is actual marketing, as opposed to like keyword trickery. And so, if you really, again, like, there's a fallback position here. If you really need to use the dynamic keyword insertion, there's a hack here. You can still use dynamic keyword insertion. Just get it out of the headline, which is the most valuable real estate, and put it instead put it in the path description, and thereby freeing up even more room. So let's recap. We've decided to, take advantage of all this new expanded text ad real estate, and the first thing we did was we decluttered, getting rid of these kind of tried and true old guard ad text elements like dynamic keyword insertion and obvious calls to actions. Now what do we do with this canvas that's much bigger and decluttered? Well, that's where my Unicorn Research Lab comes into play. We've looked at a lot of different ads, and I'm going to just share with you some of the findings in terms of what are the ads that get remarkably high click-through rates. The biggest thing, the most important tactic and strategy that you need to be leveraging is this notion of emotional triggers. And so there are 9 emotions that make people click like crazy. Here they are: laughter, fear, amusement, joy, curiosity, empathy, awe, sadness, and anger. They all fall into one of these buckets. And so basically what you do is you pick an emotion, and then secondly, just as importantly, you write the ad copy not from the perspective of like some corporate entity talking to some customer, but rather adopt the perspective of one of these 4 personas. So the bearer of bad news, the hero or the villain, the comedian, or the feel-good friend. And so I wanted to just give you 2 examples today of combining this notion of personas with this notion of emotional hooks in order to turn donkeys into unicorns, because that's what we really want to do. We want to have 6 times higher click-through rates, which means substantially higher quality scores, which means you will thrive in this more competitive environment. And so this is one for a divorce lawyer. This ad gets 6 times the average click-through rate because it uses a persona of the hero and the villain. Basically, the divorce attorney is the hero, the husband and the mistress is the villain, and the emotional trigger that we're using is this notion of anger and revenge. And so it says, who is your husband sleeping with? Is he sleeping with her right now? Get revenge, and a smile on your face. Wow, that is so powerful and emotionally charged if you think of the intent of the searcher, and that's why this thing gets 6 times the average click-through rate. And also another reason why this works so great is because everyone else are donkeys. They're all using the dynamic keyword insertion. And look, I did a search and I hit a jackpot here because I just hit a row of 7 divorce attorneys. None of these have the creativity, of even like a first-year marketing student. All right, so. That's just one example. What if you're in some other industry? Here's my second example. It has to do with breast cancer screening. Again, this ad is not terrible. I consider it to be kind of an upper class donkey, kind of slightly above average, but not great. And there's it's pretty meh. With early detection, the survival rate is 100%. Book an appointment today. Nothing wrong with this, but it's just boring. What we did was we just kind of flipped it on its head, using the idea of the emotion of fear and also the persona, the bearer of bad news. Now it's same headline, but saying only 15% of women live 5 years with late detection get screened. And so I think that's very interesting because this is still factually true. It's just that we focused on kind of like the fear, like what's the fear of the person doing this search? They probably found something and they want to know what it is, and this actually is much more motivational to do something about it than sort of the generic ad copy. And so, when we looked at this, we didn't just look at the click-through rates. Obviously, the unicorn ad got 6 times more clicks, but what about the outcomes? Because the goal is not to pay for clicks. We want to pay for sales and leads, right? And so the emotional ad copy, the unicorn resulted in a 125% increase in appointments booked every day. That's a big deal if you're one of these clinics. Also, they had a 170% increase in daily call volumes. And so basically what we're seeing is that the higher the click-through rate, it's not just that you get lower cost per click from the Google Quality Score algorithm, but you also get higher conversion rates. Why? Because if you can get your customer or your prospect excited about clicking on your ads, that excitement carries through not just for clicking on your ad, but also towards buying or signing up for whatever product or service you're selling. Guys, sometimes people ask me like, okay, I get it, we're supposed to use these emotional triggers and this notion of personas, but how do I actually combine those two concepts into an ad copy, a headline? And so this is actually a very commonly employed plug-and-play template used by viral articles. It's just like 4 awesome ad copy strategies to 6x increase click-through rate. Wow, that's pretty interesting. I bet you would sign up for one of those webinars. And so basically, I'll just tell you the format. It's you start with the format, so like a number, an emotional hook, awe, and then the content type and the topic. And so, this is this particular template is employed by a lot of those catchy articles that you see on Facebook. In terms of like BuzzFeed and all this stuff, and basically the same emotions that make people click on things in social media are also the same things that'll work on the Google search result page. In fact, on that note, we did some research last month looking at kind of engagement rates and search click-through rates, like what's the relationship between high engagement posts on Facebook and high click-through rate ads on Google searching and Google AdWords. And they were indeed related indirectly. Basically, stuff that like the ideas and emotions that tend to do great on Facebook also do great in Google Ads. And so, guys, now that you know that the template, the emotional hooks, and the persona ideas, how do you know if the ad that you do create is actually a donkey or is it a unicorn? You see, the funny thing about marketers, I know so many marketers, and they're all the same. They're all biased. They all think, if forgive my language, they all think that their shit doesn't stink, okay? Basically, because they're just so enamored and so in love with whatever marketing campaign that they produce. And so how can we, the problem is, most of these ideas aren't that as great as people think they are. Only 1 out of 10 ideas is actually going to be a unicorn. All the other ideas are, something else that they thought was a unicorn but actually wasn't a unicorn, such as a Stegosaurus or maybe a rhino or triceratops or some kind of like narwhal, funky narwhal. Basically, the idea here is that, it's kind of like the Hunger Games where you had all those tributes from the districts that had to fight each other and figure out who the victor is in the capital. You're going to have to do the same thing with your ads. We're going to have to figure out who the true unicorn is among the sea of donkeys. And so if the unicorn is the top 10%, that's like playing a lottery where the odds of winning is 1 in 10. And so the way to win this lottery is to buy 10 different tickets. And so basically in ad terms, that means we have to try out 10 different headlines, and hopefully one of them will be an outlier. Just a quick question for you guys. How many ad headlines do you see here? If you said 4, you're wrong. It's actually 1. See, this is one ad headline with different punctuation. Capitalization, punctuation, these small changes, they're not really counted in terms of like different ads. When I say you need to try out 10 different headlines, what I need you to do is try out different combinations of personas, emotional hooks, templates, and really mix it up a bit, like I have done here. And so now you just run all 10 and figure out which one's the unicorn. You're basically looking for something with like 2, 3, 4 times higher click-through rate than the rest. And if you don't find anything that kind of sticks out, then you kind of throw them all out and try again. All right. Now I know what you're thinking. It's like, wait a minute, that's a lot of work. I got other things going on, Larry. Like I can't find this unicorn. But guys, here's the thing. Okay. 80% of your clicks and sales and all this stuff comes from just 10% of your offers, okay? So basically, for most small businesses, if you can just nail one really great ad and landing page combination corresponding to a great offer, you're all set. Like, it'll make your year. So don't feel like this is an endless treadmill where you have to go unicorn hunting, for every month for the rest of your life. Generally, for most small businesses, if you can just find one, you're set for life. All right. So hopefully those tips gives you some ideas on how to maximize those click-through rates and the quality scores, because really that is very, very much the key to surviving given the changes in the ecosystem in terms of the higher competitive nature, fewer spots on mobile and on desktop. I wanted to just continue on with some of the observations here. One of the things that I looked at was this notion of negative keywords, and are people actually using this stuff? And I think there's a real opportunity here. So half of the accounts that we looked at, and this is 30,000 accounts here, half of them didn't even add a single negative keyword in the last month. Between 13.4% of them added between 1 and 9. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, this is a really great way to really increase your click-through rates, reduce the wasted spend, and yet it's very much not being used by most advertisers. And so if you can just do a little bit better job of cleaning up your query mess, and kind of targeting only the stuff that's relevant to you, you can see tremendous benefits, and reduce a lot of wasted spend. It actually has kind of this double whammy effect, because A, you're not wasting money on these stupid clicks that have nothing to do with your business, and B, that money, instead of spending it on that garbage, gets redeployed to other keywords in your account that are more productive. So basically, it's kind of you benefit twice. And so just moving along here, number 4 observation has to do with conversion tracking. Who the heck cares about quality scores and click-through rates? What really matters, obviously, is the cost per conversion and the quantity of leads or sales to your business. That's the whole point of all this optimizations. It's these are means to an end, and the end is to increase conversions. Unfortunately, what we found in the data was that only 46% of advertisers, small business advertisers, had conversion tracking installed. 54% of them do not have it installed. And yes, I know it's a little complicated, because you got to find the guy who does your website and blah blah blah, and get the pixels and all these things. But that's what we're here for here at WordStream. We can work with you to help you figure out how to do this stuff. And really install the conversion tracking if you're in the 54%, and really that really is the key to success in pay-per-click advertising. If you don't have the headlights on, as my partner Ralph Foles says, you're driving with the headlights off, you have no idea what you're doing. The great thing about pay-per-click advertising is it's super measurable, and if you don't have this in place, it's like you're kind of foregoing one of the biggest benefits of pay-per-click advertising. There is one other alternative. It's this notion of SMART goals, and basically, it's kind of a hack that Google uses to kind of estimate conversion rates without having to install JavaScript, additional conversion JavaScript on your site. Basically, if you cannot, for some reason, make changes to your JavaScript, there's this other alternative that seems to be working. We'll call it 80% is good. Okay, and so. The last idea here is along the notion of conversion rates. We were just talking about conversion tracking, but people always want to know, what's a good conversion rate. Is 1% any good? 2%? Well, guys, there's again a lot of variance. The conversion rate in the accounts that we looked at, these small businesses, the 50th percentile, so like the middle average, not the average, the median conversion rate amongst this distribution was around 2.9%, and that's kind of ridiculous, because CRO, conversion rate optimization, it's been around for over a decade, and then yet these numbers, these conversion rate averages, are not moving anywhere. This distribution looks the same as it did when I first looked at it 10 years ago. And so one other thing I'll point out is that there are unicorns among these donkeys. The top 10% of the advertisers here are converting at 8, 9, 10 plus a percentage, which I think is spectacular. Especially if you consider there's these donkeys here that are converting at less than 1%. And so how do you become a unicorn among the sea of conversion rate donkeys? And why is everything so stubbornly low here? Just two ideas here. One has to do with mobile, and this mobile is on the rise, and so the conversion pathways are more direct and take time and are more difficult to attribute. And that's exactly why call tracking is so important. Because all these searches, there's a very, very good chance that they lead to calls to your website as opposed to clicking to some JavaScript enabled page. And so if you work with a company like WordStream, we can do the call recording and the call tracking to really kind of attribute the outcomes with the inputs that produce those outputs. The other crazy idea I have here is that maybe CRO is a bunch of hype and doesn't actually work as well as advertised, which I'm very skeptical of CRO for many reasons. But basically, 10% of the advertisers are doing 3 to 5 times better than the donkeys, seeing a great conversion rate, and we need you to be these donkeys among unicorns. And so my last kind of hack for today is this notion of changing or evolving your offer for insanely awesome conversion rate optimization. Remember, we really want to be the upper decile, not the bottom or the median values which are unremarkable, because you're paying for this stuff, and you want to make sure that it's actually yielding good value. And so how do we convert these conversion rate donkeys offers into conversion rate unicorns? Here's how you shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be doing these dumb donkey, lipstick on a donkey kind of changes where you just take the same dumb old offer that you've been offering previously that was converting at 2%, and changing the color or the spacing of the button color or the image, because even if that gives you a 5% increase in conversions or some other claim from some CRO guy, basically. This always happens. It's that even when the software products declare a statistically significant winner, the lead always disappears, and the gains almost never persist, like 97% of the time. And the reason is because there's this thing called offer fatigue. It's the same thing in advertising. It's called ad fatigue. Like the reason why this worked was because it was new. Okay, it was new and people hadn't seen it before. But the reason why it dies off over time is the same reason why it worked, is because it's no longer new and it's no longer novel. And so that none of these software programs, A/B testing softwares, take into consideration offer fatigue. And so the alternative to just kind of chasing your tail, being on this kind of endless treadmill of kind of disappearing growth, is this notion of chasing higher click-through rates. All right, because what we've noticed is that the higher the click-through rates, the higher your conversion rates. So this is one of my larger e-commerce accounts, and basically you can see the click-through rates for the search ads, like these correspond to hundreds of different products within this e-commerce product catalog. The click-through rates range from 1% to 25%. All right, or 0% to 25%, and the higher the click-through rate of the products, the higher the conversion rates of those same products. And so I think that's really interesting. So I went into this catalog to see what kind of things this e-commerce vendor was selling, what were some of the dumbest things that they were selling with low click-through rates and conversion rates, and what were some of the hottest products that were selling like crazy. And so the worst thing that I could find here was this notion of picnic pants. And this is just such a terrible idea. It's like you're practically eating off your own crotch. It's terrible. Like, I don't know. It looks so dumb. Why would anyone buy this picnic pants? Hi, I'm sorry. There was just like a connection error here. Hopefully, Michelle, can you hear me there? Uh, Michelle, are you on mute? Can anyone just type something in the chat window to let me know if you can hear me? Oh, great.
We're back in action.
Okay, so I was just talking about picnic cats versus drones, and the picnic cats had very, very low click-through rates and also had very low conversion rates because it's such a dumb product. Apologies to anyone who, if you happen to work for this company or be the owner of this company. The opposite was this notion of drones, which had very, very high click-through rates, and because it's so cool, people, when they see it, they want to buy this thing, and so it has very, very high conversion rates. And so the question is, what the heck should you do if you're the kind of metaphorically speaking, if you're the picnic pants vendor? The worst thing that you can do, in my opinion, is just put lipstick on a donkey. It's like, oh, I know, let's do two for one picnic pants, or change the button color of the picnic pants. No. What you need to do is like, bury this donkey and come up with some better offerings, such as the drones. And basically, I wanted to just give you kind of a visual representation of this thing. It's like, no matter how much window dressing you put on this crappy picnic pants, it'll never be great. Okay, because it's just not a great product. The only thing you can do is find a completely different offer that's better and has different conversion characteristics. That's the only way to go after big changes that actually persist over time. Remember how I was saying it's like 97% of the time it doesn't stick? Well, the 3% of the time it sticks, these gains, is when you kind of evolve your offer to something more valuable and more differentiated and more interesting for your target buyer. And so I just wanted to give you one example from my own history here. In 2011, I changed my offer. I was a donkey, okay? My name is Larry. My offer of a WordStream trial was a donkey because it was converting at roughly 2%, and it just, I don't know. I was not feeling very creative. Every other software company out there had a free trial, and so I thought maybe I need a free trial too. But 2%. If you are being objective and honest with yourself, it's not a great conversion rate. And so what I did one day, I had the epiphany, an aha moment. I switched the offer from being a free trial to being a report card, and the report card was just so much easier to understand, and it kind of highlighted all of the issues that were killing your account in just a few seconds. And so this has become a ridiculously successful offering that created over 1 million report cards and over $9 billion of ad spend in the last few years. I just want to show you what that looks like. This is WordStream's product revenues. Over the last, I made the change in 2011, and as you can see, it really took off. Over 591% growth in the last 3 years. And by the way, I do this not to brag. It's just to tell you showcase the power of evolving the offer rather than just seeing if I could make the button color of my trial offer better. Do you see what I'm saying? And by the way, I think this should give you some confidence that if you work with WordStream, you're working with a marketing company that actually knows how to do marketing. it's kind of like sometimes the emperor has no clothes. You hire these contractors or software companies, and they have no clue what they're doing. Well, this is definitely not the case here at WordStream, where we practice what we preach. And so basically, that kind of summarizes that tip of the power of not just prettying up your offer, but actually changing it to change the characteristics of that offer. Moving forward, let's just recap here. We're going to focus on excellence in ad performance. Because Google is only showing the ads that are high performers, and we talked about expanded text ads and emotional triggers and personas and all this great templates. We talked about measurement and the importance of installing the conversion tracking, and we also talked about by the way, expanded text ads. These are there's like a migration path going on here, something like January, you need to be kind of off of the old thing, and from that point onwards, you're only allowed to create the new ones. So you'll need to have a strategy in place soon. And so basically that's all we had to share today in terms of like kind of my 5 key observations from analyzing, fresh analysis of $500 million in ad spend done last month, literally. Hey, Callie, do we have any time for questions, or are there any questions from our users today about anything we talked about today, or WordStream, or life in general?
Yeah, we have some questions, but before we get to that, and anybody else can submit a question as well, I do have some special offers for our audience today. So if you'd like to see how WordStream can help you, we have a free live demo with one of our AdWords certified consultants. We also have a one-on-one AdWords assessment with an AdWords certified consultant, where they'll walk you through your account. They'll show you where you have, where you're doing really well and where you have areas of opportunity to improve your account. And then if you don't need any help, that's cool too. So yeah, Larry, a couple questions for you. Why people are submitting for the special offers is, what can I do if I don't see any improvement in click-through rate and conversions after migrating to expanded text ads?
Throw it all out. I mean, it's like just start from scratch. Like, the market is telling you something. Okay, click-through rate is like the ultimate user survey. Okay, what you're asking is like, is the thing that I'm offering interesting or not? And if you're getting, very, very crappy click-through rates, you have to do one of two things. You have to offer something different, as we talked about today, or change your target market, by trying to sell the same thing to a different audience. That would involve your targeting, so different keywords, different ad targeting strategies. But the thing that people do that's a huge mistake is they ignore the feedback of the market, and they just keep doing the same things over and over again, hoping that it'll change, and it never does.
Great. So when you have a low quality score and make changes, whether it be to ads or landing pages, how long does it take to get rescored? And or are you better to just delete that keyword and start from scratch with to get new scoring, or to just edit it?
Sure, deleting a keyword doesn't do anything. I mean, that's the oldest trick in the book. Like, if you think of just deleting a keyword, and Google will suddenly forget that was the worst keyword in the world, like in terms of the ad performance, that would be quite a loophole if that really did work. But no, it doesn't work. Even if you quote unquote delete something, the Google still retains the statistics on those keywords. So basically, I guess the idea here is if it's not improving, how quickly does it take? It's not a matter of a set time period. It's how many impressions get served. All right. So it's kind of like polling the presidential election. Like, you need a certain sample size in order to make a prediction. And so for these quality score changes to go into effect, they need somewhere around 100 to 250 ad impressions to be able to make a determination of the quality of your ads. So depending on the volume of the keywords that you're picking, that could happen in minutes, or that could take days or weeks. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Next up, is it still important to have the exact keyword searched in the ad, or is it having a semantically close / relevant keyword or phrase enough?
Oh, you definitely don't need to have every keyword. Was a near phrase match variance matching, like in AdWords, they're getting better at kind of interpreting the intent of the searcher, and it's not necessary for you to think of every single possible combination of keyword that you need to think up. But it doesn't hurt. It's not going to hurt to have a couple extra synonyms or related terms, but it's not as huge a requirement as it was, say, 5 years ago.
Okay, great. Next up, I have an easy one for you. Can you explain what a negative keyword is, please?
It's the opposite of a keyword. A negative keyword is an exclusionary targeting feature. So like I don't want to, you know, come up with my ad for keywords that all for queries that also contain a certain word. Like, you know, if it was PPC marketing, okay, and if I'm trying to sell PPC marketing software, I could put the word jobs as a negative because maybe I'm not trying to have my ad show up for people who are searching for PPC jobs because this isn't necessarily the product that matches the intent of that search. They're looking for something else. They're looking for job listings. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Okay, next up. This gentleman ran AdWords on his website a year ago or so for several months and didn't do so hot. And kind of not really understanding as to why the metrics were so poor. So should he delete his account and start from scratch? Would that give him the blank slate that he might be looking for?
You know, not really. I mean, one of the things that Google does is it not only remembers ad performance in your account, it looks at the ad performance of the keywords as how they have performed in other people's accounts. So it's kind of like there's no escape. It knows everything about every click that ever happened. So, you know, if you wanted to create a new account, maybe there would be a small benefit, like, you know, just a marginal benefit, but mostly I think it would just be for just a fresh start. You know, just you don't have to worry about the clutter from the other the campaigns that didn't go anywhere, and maybe that will kind of not be so demoralizing. You know, but I don't necessarily think it makes a huge difference whether or not you create a different account or not.
Okay. Can you explain call tracking, please?
Sure. There's two types of call tracking, dynamic and static numbers, okay? A dynamic number would be like if you wanted to track what keyword led to a certain call, okay? So, you know, someone does a search on Google, first using a certain keyword, and then they click to your website. Then the website, what it does is it changes the phone number on your website. So instead of having whatever 800 number you have, it changes it to a special tracking number that takes into consideration the fact that it knows that your click came from Google using a certain query. Do you see what I'm saying? And so then when someone calls that special number, it can then say, oh, well, this call came from the Google campaign with this keyword. So that's dynamic call tracking. The opposite is static call tracking. So that would be like if you have a call extension or a Yellow Page advertisement or a business card where you wanted to know where the call came from, but you didn't need to change the number every time someone was calling. It would just be nice to know if it came from, you know, your Facebook ads or your Yellow Page ads or whatever. So that's where you create a forwarding number that doesn't change, a static number, and just set that up so that you track how many times each static number comes up in order to attribute calls to different campaigns. WordStream, by the way, has call tracking and supports both of these use cases.
Great. Now a follow-up question to that is people might have kind of a misconception about call tracking, and they've heard that it's negative because it confuses Google Local's recognition of your phone number. Is this true or false?
Well, I guess there is a possibility, a theoretical possibility, that if you have all these different tracking numbers out there, that maybe Google might get the wrong number. But I think what I would do is that Google usually gets the numbers from like the Google kind of scrapes the business numbers from like the Yellow Pages or the white or the phone directories. You see what I'm saying? So like, just I think the key is whatever the source of the number that Google is scraping to populate your local listings, just make sure that that one is whatever number that you wish it to be, and then it should ignore all the other things. But that's just, you know, that's just my experience. It's there's possibility of something going, you know, crazy. Stuff happens.
Great. Thanks so much, Larry. All right, guys. Well, that concludes today's webinar. Larry, thank you. I know you have been on a plane, so we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us today and share your wisdom with us. And everyone else, thank you for your time, as we know you're busy. And definitely keep an eye out from that email from Larry later this afternoon. It will have the recording, the slides, so you can review them in more detail. And again, we encourage you to follow us on Twitter at WordStream and at Larry Kim. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out if you'd like to discuss any